Welcome to Full Scope, a podcast with two guys in their 20s, giving their perspective on the games that we love and the story behind it all. I'm your host, Wellington Burns, along with my counterpart, Savon Morris. How's it going?
It's going great, thank God.
Great?
It's going great, man.
Everything functioning?
We're on live. We're finally here. We made it.
Yeah. Well, we're joined by a special guest tonight, Micah Mcdonald, former high school and college classmate of mine. Thanks for being on again.
Hey, thanks for having me on again. I enjoy it a lot, so thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, to start things off tonight, the Raptors are currently up 3-2 against the Sixers, and it was a very convincing win, a 36-point margin. And it wasn't a typical Kawhi game. Like he only had 21 points, 13 rebounds, and Siakam had 25, and Kyle Lowry had a really good two-way type of game. And like there were a ton of more contributors in terms of role players stepping up, and Embiid and Simmons had a ton of turnover issues, and the health of Embiid has been up and down. But Savon, in terms of what you saw in that performance by Toronto, that like just a convincing win and like the Sixers' largest postseason loss, and also what it means for the series going ahead. What were your thoughts on it?
I feel like everybody pitched in finally because we kept seeing the reoccurring thing of Kawhi doing a double double with 30, averaging 38 points and 10 rebounds and different things like that. Now the bench has played a role. 3-point shooting for that game was the pivotal thing for them
Yeah,
moving forward from now on. Now if they can have Kawhi go off again for that because he had a settled night with I think he had 25 points 21 points, 13 rebounds. Siakam had 25. He had 25. But their bench players came in, stepped up, and started hitting big threes. And who else? Danny Green.
of
Mr. Danny
course,
Green,
it's
of
reliable.
course.
Yes.
Mr. Reliable. Oh, he of course Micah says of course because he came from
Spurs.
the Spurs.
Well, he did. He
So
did. I want to stop you there because he did choke in our finals against the Heat that we lost. I'm just saying, he did good like the first 4 or 5 games, and then he went home or something. I don't know what happened to him,
well
but
he's doing Raptors justice right now. But I think going forward, if they continue this momentum, and if Joel Embiid is not 100% from due for flu-like symptoms, then they're not going to finish out the series, and it's going to be a lot of hell to pay come if they lose like the Celtics did. Well, the Celtics was 4-1. That was
Yeah,
crazy. That's crazy.
yeah, and
God.
so Savon, would you say in terms of like the player that, or I don't know if it's a certain thing that because turnovers are always the biggest issue with the Sixers and losses. Like that's going to be the biggest issue or the biggest component that's going to kind of decide that. Would you say outside of Embiid, do you think it's Simmons or Butler that have to step up more? Because Tobias Harris, he struggled in that loss as well.
He did.
But what player do you think kind of has to be like the rising force, or do you think it's just solely because when we with game three, how Embiid played when he looked that good,
Yeah.
it's going to be hard to beat the Sixers. But when he's not, they look extremely beatable.
On paper, and if you're a real basketball player or the guy who watches basketball all the time, you would say Joel Embiid. But I want to see Ben Simmons step up, and you can
Yeah,
tell I'm not a basketball guy. Well, that's not true. But I just want Ben Simmons to step up. I think they're even better when Ben is controlling things and getting them in transitional basketball. Joel Embiid is going to get you 30, and you can see that if Joel get you 30, it's still going to lose. What Jimmy Butler did in the series before that, he was getting buckets, they still were losing. So I want Ben Simmons to be more consistent. I'll keep saying this. This is going to be I reiterate it all this time. If Ben Simmons step up, learn how to create his own shot, the offense will move even better with Joel there and Jimmy Butler there. I think it has to be Ben Simmons hands down because you're the leader of this team. You're the point guard. Everything goes through you.
ooh,
They're looking for you to move everything with haste. I know Joel Embiid is going to be the favorite choice. He has to step up, but he can't step up right now. He has flu-like symptoms. He's not
right.
completely himself. You could tell in his when he was shooting, he
This is the
just was out
seesaw
of sync.
effect with
Yeah,
Embiid's
he was
health.
out of sync.
You
Yeah.
never, like Brad Brown saying, like we never know. Like from day to day, we just never know how he's going to feel. And
So
and, and
you know,
and yeah, that seems to be the overwhelming element. Micah, in terms of because like Pascal Siakam, he had a game high 25 points, 8
mhm.
rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. And he was 9 of 10 from the free throw line. In terms of what Toronto's doing, like obviously we know Kawhi's going to be like he's averaged 38 points in this series and has just shown us why he's one of the still a top 5 player in talent. What has kind of stood out to you the most in terms of what the Raptors have done, even like outside of Kawhi, even though he's been phenomenal?
Well, I think it has been the play of Pascal Siakam. I mean,
Yeah,
the first game he had 29. The next game he had 21. Last night he had 25. So he's getting consistent buckets just like he's been all year. And obviously it's surprising because he's a breakout star and people thought he would have a high ceiling and he did. He's lived up to the expectations. But as you said, the last game up to this point in the series, it's been a single digit game except for one game where it was 11 points. So it was back and forth, back and forth. The stars that were really shining were Kawhi and Jimmy Butler, and a couple games Joel Embiid at the beginning of the series, and but this game, and I think Savon said it was first of all 3-point shooting. While they did shoot 40, they made 16 of them.
hmm
So that's huge. They're winning the rebounding battle.
yeah,
Um, the fact that Embiid is sick and hurt, and yet they still decide to play him, I think is hurting the 76ers, especially as we've seen at last game. Um, but last game we saw a Raptors team that can be scary,
yeah,
where we saw Lowry had 19 and Green had 17, Gasol had 11, and even Ibaka off the bench had 10. Now, while you don't even have Van Vliet playing well, you've got other guys that are stepping up from the bench that need to step up from the bench. Where Philly is very strong in the starting roles. Uh, they're pretty weak on the bench, and it showed. Because when their starters last game, when Redick had 3 and Simmons had 7, you had one guy off the bench that scored 10, and nobody else scored more than 6 off the bench. So you don't have a bench that is performing well when your starters are failing, and
hmm
so you have to pick up the slack. Whereas Toronto has found something, and that they can pull people off the bench that can fill valuable minutes, even as plus and minus, and they're getting pluses instead of minuses. Whereas Joel Embiid in this slump, he's minus 15 when he's on the floor, and so last game culminated their push in the playoff and their season into something that is something beautiful, and if they can keep this up, which I don't know if they can, just because of inconsistent plays with Danny Green and Gasol, you don't know where they're going to be, and even Kyle Lowry at times. Where so you're leaning on Leonard and Siakam, but if they can keep this up, I mean, they'll give Milwaukee a run for its money and maybe a potential chance to get to the finals.
yeah. I would definitely agree. And to wrap this up with the Sixers and Raptors, Savon, we've gone over and over about Brett Brown's future with the team and the possibility of whether or not he's like the right person for this particular expectation and team, that because like last year he was thoroughly outcoached by Brad Stevens. Um, I kind of have a two-part question for you. Like, how do you see this series kind of playing out, and also what do you think about the implications of if the Sixers go out in 6 or 7?
If Joel Embiid is not 100%, they definitely lose. But if Ben Simmons peeks his head out of around the corner, like, oh, okay, guys, I'm here, then they might have a chance because we know Jimmy is the most consistent
Mm.
player on this team. He's going to get his buckets. Now, if Ben Simmons steps up, Joel Embiid won't go. They said he's been better 2 days before that game, and we see how that transition onto the court. So if he's not 100%, he's out. You can't
Yeah.
depend on him. You can't depend on JJ Redick. You have to depend on Jimmy Butler and Ben Simmons. Those are guys you have to depend on. Now, I think they will lose, definitely lose, without Joel Embiid being healthy. They lose the series. Brett Brown is gone. They look at it. They look at the general manager position too. They see what they can do in that if he stays or goes. But I know there's going to be some shifting in that organization because fans are fed up. The players are fed up. They're trying to do everything necessary. Bringing Tobias Harris there, bringing Jimmy there, all the other transitional players helping out. Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons and Markel Fultz then paying out. It's a lot of stuff that goes on in the organization and the scandals too. So they're going to shake some things up. They're going to get Brett Brown out of there. He's not. If they lose, he's out of there. No, probably the next day. No, probably the same day.
Probably the
Say
same
them same day.
day.
Say
15 minutes later.
clean your locker out, buddy. Don't come back. So if they lose, He's out of there. And I
Yeah.
think the process. I don't think it's the process anymore. Jimmy's leaving. I think Jimmy's gone. Tobias might stay. They might give him a big
I
contract. But
think
other than
Tobias is
that,
the one who's likely to stay,
yeah,
probably.
I think he likes it
Mm.
there. I think he
Yeah.
likes it there. But I know
Butler,
Jimmy being
that's
Jimmy, yeah,
highly
no.
unlikely.
He's too competitive of a player. And to see Ben Simmons not, panning out and Joel is a seesaw effect. So, and then he's like, you see the interaction, the game when Joel and B went off, you say, yo, shoot.
Yeah.
We need you to be the guy. But I don't think Joel can be that guy because one, he's inconsistent sometimes, and he's not healthy. He's unhealthy. You can't do anything with an unhealthy player, but that's my spiel.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, Michael, would you agree with that assessment?
I
Or at
don't
least
know.
you, Mr. Morris?
Probably
I,
not, because
I,
Micah wants to
I,
disagree regardless.
no, that's not what I'm coming on. To say that Joel Embiid is inconsistent uh, as of this playoff series,
Right.
sure, but the whole
Last year
season,
too. Last year too.
I'm talking about this year. This year when
I'm
he's
talking about
finally healthy.
playoffs. I'm talking about play. He was
I
unhealthy
understand that,
last year.
but I'm putting this season as the charting cornerstone where you have to examine because this season you have to put last season. I know he's had inconsistency issues because of his health, but if you've seen him this season and even in the first round of the playoffs,
Hmm.
he is the most consistent player on the team. Jimmy Butler is not as consistent as him.
Whoa,
And in
that's
regards to Ben
big.
Simmons, like, what are you depending on him for? To get 5 rebounds? He's the most he scored in this whole playoff series is 14 points. The other score is 6, 7, 10. Like, and even with the assists, the highest assist he's had, I think, is 7. So you're
Yeah.
not. He's dead weight out there. He's an okay defender. He's not doing anything on offense, and because he can't shoot the stinking ball. Um, so in regards to Ben Simmons being out there and being the key, yeah, sure, if he stepped up, it could help. But regardless of what he's doing, they're barely winning and barely losing. And his play, the last game where they lost by 36, it didn't matter. It didn't change. It's the same stats. So it's got to be Joel Embiid playing well. And if he's not playing well, stop kicking him in the game. I agree that Jimmy Butler needs to play well. JJ Redick needs to step up his game. I think they need to give TJ McConnell more minutes. He had 9 minutes and 0 points last game, and he knows what it's like to play in the playoffs. In regards to Brett Brown's future, I would hesitate to say to get rid of Brett Brown. Brett Brown has done an awesome job having a heavy laden starting five with a very very weak bench, and trying to get the personalities of Jimmy Butler and Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons to do something and win games. I thought that was going to be a struggle. I think Tobias Harris is a very big key, and I agree that they should give him a big contract because he is a consistent player. He's a teammate that people want to play with. Um, but as far as him being able to do something with this team and get it to 6 games, which I didn't think was gonna happen against the Raptors, just because of the talent that they've had all season and the way that they performed. I would hesitate to throw Brett Brown under the bus now, even if they lose this series. I mean, they took the Raptors to 6. If it all pans out and Raptors win tonight, um, I would get one of the 3 people that are the main problem. For me, I get rid of Jimmy Butler. You don't need him there. Get a couple solid role players that you can pull off the bench when you need them. Because the starting five, um, when starting five goes out, you've got nobody to play.
They
It,
tried
there,
all of that, what you're just suggesting. They tried all of that before Tobias Harris got over there. They didn't know how to play together. They had
Switching
no
up the lineups.
chemistry. They were switching up the line. They did
right,
everything.
Yeah.
They did all of
but
that. Somebody
mhm.
has to go. The
Somebody
first
has to
person
take the
they're
fall.
going to go is going to be Brett Brown. Be
Should be.
realistically,
I
Brett
disagree.
Brown
It
is
should
going to
be
go.
Jamie Butler.
Jimmy
I,
Butler is going to exit
Yeah, he's gonna
willingly
decide
because
on
he
his
doesn't. I
own.
don't.
that's
Yeah, he's
fine
going to
by me,
willingly.
and I would
That's
take that. I
willingly.
would take that with a grain of salt if I had the 76ers. I would take that as a blessing. Okay, now we can move forward in something that's really special because there's going to be that tension there between 3 high personality players, and it's going to
I think
happen. So with Jimmy Butler leaving, as I expect he will, uh,
Hmm.
I think that's a huge thing, but I don't think Brett Brown's job is in jeopardy at all. He has taken them far and above what people thought he could,
Really?
Sheesh.
even with his
Wow.
starting five.
You know,
Did you
I
did you
think the problem,
expect them to go 6 games against the Raptors?
At least six. Yeah.
yeah, at
I
least
didn't,
six, because they're the
because they're
process.
inexperienced and they're young and they're well, most of them are
So
young,
that's an
and they're going
excuse
against
now.
a highly touted Toronto team. I know that they won what was it, 51 games this year.
Yeah.
Um,
51. Second consecutive season of
I
right,
don't
50,
think that's
51.
an
and
excuse at
barring
all.
the last game as some of a fluke, that they've kept a very competitive series, and I'm impressed with that. Um, Even if they beat the Raptors, there's no way they're getting to the championship. The Bucks are in the way. You
That
know,
is that is insane, Micah. But
Well, we're gonna. Okay.
before we
All right.
move on, Wellington, I think you need to highlight what big ego is in the way with 76ers. And that's all I'm going to say. The biggest ego there is not Jimmy Butler. It's not Ben Simmons. It's Joel Embiid. When
Yeah.
they
Sure.
have the rotational players, when they have the players that were going to be the complete the process, they couldn't move forward because Joel Embiid couldn't adapt. He's a one-way play, two-way player, but he's a one-way dimensional player on offense.
whoa, no, he's not.
You have to make him shoot. Yes, he is. All he
He
wants to
can
do is
dominate down
stand
low if
in
he
the
wants
paint.
to. He can
He
shoot the
wants to
ball.
dominate on the paint, but he can't adapt. That's
He
why
can
they
shoot the
haven't
ball.
completed the process. He hasn't adapted yet.
He
I
The
can
think.
problem
shoot the
is
ball, but I think
Listen, listen.
I
he's
think
not
opponents will live
confident
with
enough
that.
to shoot the
Opponents will
ball.
I
live
think.
with that.
I think
He's not
ego is a
confident enough.
strong word to use there, just because of
Oh,
where he's come from and how hard he's worked to get here.
that has
I think. I
nothing to
think
do with
uh,
anything. I'm talking
it
about on the
has everything to do
basketball
with it.
court. I'm talking about on the
This is.
basketball court. Everybody has a basketball or a sports ego. I'm not saying him as a person that opts out the court. I mean on the
I'm
court.
talking
Off
about
the
on the
court, Kobe
court.
Bryant is the most humblest player ever. But on the court, he's a savage.
Oh,
It's a
don't
diff.
forget Tim Duncan now. Come on now.
Tim Duncan too. I'm just saying, Tim. It's just that difference.
Well, listen.
Joel
I
Embiid.
I understand what you're
It
saying.
doesn't matter who you bring in there. You can bring Tobias, Jimmy, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson. It doesn't matter who you bring in. They're not going to win anything more
Sam
than what they're
Jones.
doing now because they don't know how to adapt. And they
I
have
agree
a
they're not going
terrible
to win
time
anything, but
picking
I don't think
players.
it's because of what they got. I think it's what the teams that are in the way.
Yeah, and
I
and
don't think
and
that at
and I
all.
think the big picture, this top four in the East, it was going to be a gauntlet for any of the teams to get
Yeah,
through, and now like that's what we're seeing. We're seeing the manifestation of that, and with the Bucks and Celtics last night, this was the Bucks win by 25, and it's a collective where the wing players like Middleton, Bledsoe, I believe they combined for 37, and
yeah,
Lopez, he struggled 0 for 7 from the three, and this was the first game I believe Brogdon was back, and the George Hill, Ilyasova, they have double digits, and on
yep,
the other hand, Kyrie only has 15 points, and it's ever since game one when they have the great strategy of um, kind of locking down, doing their best to throw multiple bodies at Giannis with Horford and Baines, and it's effective. Ever since then, the Bucks did what they did all season. Have spread the floor around Giannis, let him do his work in the interior, and then their shooters start knocking down shots at a high clip. So Savon, what were your thoughts on the Bucks? Just really steamrolling the Celtics after that game one loss and kind of their chances of winning it all in the East.
I think they had a temporary answer. We saw that the same way with James Harden and Utah Jazz. Fantastic defense on him. It's only that's one game. Now Horford did an awesome job in that one game, but after that, he
I don't
adapted to
think
the
Paul Pierce
game.
realized that, Savon, that it was just
Yes,
one game.
just one game. You have to contain him for the whole series. That is a whole lot of man. That's a beast. That's just crazy to me. Like, but for the movement, I didn't think they had an answer for Chris Middleton.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, he
if
was
yeah.
shooting
he
60% from the field even in the last series. Of
yeah,
last year.
he was playing lights out. I love them two together. And then you Bledsoe stepped up a lot in the series too, which kind of surprised me. I thought he was going to be a non-factor, But again, we see the Celtics not playing basketball together. They don't know how to play together. Kyrie's out. I hope everybody can agree with that. Kyrie's leaving.
Right.
Right.
Uh, we'll
My
see. We'll
goodness,
see.
this
What are we
nigga.
guessing?
We'll
What
see.
are we guessing? What are we waiting on, Sam?
We'll see.
We
Yeah,
know
We'll
this.
see.
Micah. I was waiting on Micah to
I
say
don't. I
yeah.
don't.
He's
I
like,
don't want to. I don't want to presume yet. We'll see.
I don't
It's
think he
it's it's a it's
stays.
a it's the main option, but we'll see.
Yeah, but I just like the way that Giannis came after the first game. He was like, okay,
Hmm.
then put a Horford on me. How can I adjust to this? How can I get my teammates involved? Chris Middleton starts going off. They start zeroing him and allows Giannis to get to the lanes more. I love the way they play basketball. This is how you play basketball, Celtics. Celtics fans, this is how you play basketball to a T. I
Mm.
love every minute of it. Now they get a team, which is going to be Toronto. It's going to be
Hmm.
interesting if they put
It's going to
Kawhi
be a
on
very
Giannis.
fascinating conference finals.
Yeah, I don't know if they're
Oh
gonna
Be-
put
yeah.
Surge on him or they're gonna put Giannis. I think Surge's not fast enough, but they might
Well,
put Kawhi on him.
Kawhi's the
Yeah,
best defender in the league, so you're definitely gonna put him on
Yeah,
Giannis. Come on now.
that's gonna be a good matchup.
yeah,
Gosh,
and 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 the one thing with uh with Boston and especially Kyrie, I mean, he's the first Celtic. This is according to ESPN stats and info. He's the first Celtic to go 4 straight playoff games, taking 15 or more shots, then making them at a lower rate than 40% since Sam Jones in 1966.
Mm.
And there's the constant thing of I think he took 22 shots and he said after I think either a loss in game 3 or game 4 that
It
I
was
have to
game
take
three.
oh yeah, game 3 that I have to take I have to take like 30 shots. And
Yeah.
there's the onus of that. But that's obviously this is a team where we saw like more hero ball shooting than we've
yep.
seen in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Just not spreading the ball around the most, as spreading the ball around as we usually are accustomed to see them doing. But Micah, with this Celtics team, what surprised you the most in terms of after like after the game 1 win, and do you feel as though it just was kind of like what we should have expected with them kind of being up and down all season?
Uh, I, you know my stance ever since last year on the Celtics. I thought they were the best team in the East coming into the season, just with what they did last year. Obviously, with that conference finals mess up that they had, but with the players that were returning that were injured with Kyrie and Gordon Hayward, and but now with the emergence of the Bucks as a top team and the contenders with 76ers in Toronto, I felt, especially after the first game, I thought, okay, this is the Celtics that I've been waiting for all season. This is the Celtics team that I've been waiting to come out and say, okay, this is actually who we are. We have a great coach. We have solid players coming out. But then you get after a 32-point win, you lose by 21, and I'm just shaking my head. I'm just like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Obviously, Tatum and Irving combined 14 points in that game. Combined. I mean, that's just terrible. That's terrible. Um, and then you had I think it was game. I want to say it was game 4. They lost by 12. Do you want to know how many bench points they had? They
Drop
had
to it.
Scared to
7
guess.
bench points. 7.
Sheesh.
Hayward had 2, Smart had 3, and Rozier had 2. That's it. And Hayward played 27 minutes. The only thing that
Wow.
saved them that game was that their starters actually played well for once. But another key to the series was George Hill off the bench scoring at least 10 points in every single game so far. Had 21 in another game, 14 in another game. Even Pat Connaughton's playing some. Well, he had 7 points last game with 11 boards.
Yeah.
So you've got the bench that is not playing well for the Celtics and the bench that is playing extremely well for the Bucks. Now, especially with Malcolm Brogdon back, and so you just got this formidable opponent who all season is like, well, what if their bench isn't as good? Well, now their bench is playing pretty freaking amazing, and Celtics just they got off to a good start the series, and everybody was like, all right, this is the end for the Bucks. They're inexperienced. They're just one game, and then the Bucks was like, actually, let me show you what we're actually about,
Hmm.
and they showed us that they're the best record in the league. and that's exactly what they did. And I'm not surprised that the series is ending this way. I thought it would be 5 or 6, but I'm surprised after that first game it ended like this.
Yeah,
Because after the first game,
that's
I'm
really the
thinking,
thing.
okay,
Because,
6 or 7.
6 or 7. Yeah.
But
Because at
then,
that point, you're thinking it's going to
yeah,
be a chess match between Budenholzer and Stevens.
exactly. Um, and I'm glad that Stevens manned up and said, "This is my fault. Like this is not." I understand that his star player was playing horrifically terrible.
Hmm.
Um, but you got to be able to adjust around it. You have a lineup that broke out last year in the playoffs that knows how to play in the playoffs now, and you're not implementing them to the system. And when you do, they're not playing well, such as the Gordon Hayward 25 minutes with 2 points. You, if he's not scoring, you know, take him out. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what happened with the Celtics. I'm not surprised that it happened like this.
Yeah.
Um, but I expected more of the Celtics. I really did.
Yeah, I did
Just all
too.
through the season, they never lived up to an
Five.
expectation that I thought
Yeah.
they would get to.
Yeah. 5-game loss to um, the Bucks. I mean,
Yeah.
if you said 6 or 7, I feel like that would have been kind of like a more
At the
understandable,
start of the season,
exit.
I would have said,
And even
they
that,
would have 1-7.
right?
I would have said that. At the middle of the season, okay, maybe lost in 7, lost in 6. But I always kept waiting for them to hit this stride, and they never hit it. And I don't understand why. They have pieces in place that played. Do they have to get rid of their stars? They played well. They played better without their star players. I don't know what's going on.
Is
Uh,
it?
Hmm.
Can I pose a question real quick? Is
Please,
of
it a
course.
such thing as having too much talent on your basketball team?
for sure. I think so.
Well, ask the Warriors.
That too, and the Celtics.
They're
You
two
see the
straight
difference.
championship. I ain't gonna tell you that.
Yeah,
Um, but and even I mean that's another tangent. I expected Stevens to be a better coach. I expected Kyrie to play his superstar ability, which he did not.
yeah.
I
He did not.
expected the bench to do something, which they never did. Um, just a lot of people let people down, and I don't know what to do with them. Like they have players on their team that can play very well, and we saw it last year. We've seen Gordon Hayward and Kyrie play extremely well throughout their careers. So you have players that you're expecting to play well because they've shown that they can, and they just drop the ball for 4 games. For one game they did well, but for 4 games, when their starters are playing well, their benches stink. But when their starters are stinking, their bench still stinks. Like their bench didn't help them out at all.
I was
And,
wondering if
and
that was gonna go the way.
they've got Terry Rozier, they've got Marcus Morris, they've got I can't remember Simi Ojale. They've got these
Yeah,
players
Ojale.
that they could play. We saw them last year,
It's
and you're
it's one
not
of the
even
most
playing.
puzzling Celtic seasons ever,
You're not even
probably.
playing against starting when you're in. You're playing against subs, and
Yeah.
you can't beat them. Man, I don't know what to tell them, man.
A lot of
I'm at
frustration
a
for
loss
Micah.
for words of the Celtics team,
Madison
man.
Square Garden sounds so nice, doesn't
I
it, Savon?
I am I am disappointed in the Celtics.
Madison Square Garden sounds good right now.
That's funny. That's
Kyrie,
funny.
I just, you know,
Bright
I
lights, New York.
I just think about the way Kyrie played in this series,
Yeah.
and it just
I
reassures
mean,
me that he's
Can,
not
can I
a
can I
we
pull
leader.
up
felt
the
as though
word?
playoff Kyrie, because not having that
Yeah,
element last year, and he was
Yeah,
saying he said constantly down the stretch, like,
yeah,
just give us like I just can't wait until the postseason, because
yeah.
that's really where you're going to see,
Let,
like,
let me let me
you know
let me
yeah,
tell you the
machine.
word.
sure.
Let me tell you the word. Garbage.
Yeah.
He played like straight garbage. He played like an eighth man most of the. Now he had a game where he had 23. It didn't mean anything because the bench stunk. So it doesn't matter if you're playing well when your team around you's not. But when you don't play well and your team still stinks around you, I mean, there's something wrong there. We got to find what's up. Because a team that is as
Oh, you don't
talented
have
as
to.
they
He's
are,
leaving. You don't
a
have
team
to.
that is
He's
as
leaving.
talented as they are should not be playing this terribly. They should have not have been a 4 seed. They should not have struggled all year. They shouldn't have struggled, and they shouldn't have been this bad in this playoff series. There's
That's
so many question marks. I don't know what to say, man. It's just
you
so
have
it's so
to.
puzzling.
now we have to applaud the Golden State Warriors as much like
For being
Absolutely.
able to manage all of
yeah
this
to
talent.
manage
Absolutely.
all of
Yeah,
that.
that's
You see
astounding.
what a team because they
I
have
mean,
the same amount
I've
of
been
talent.
saying that ever since they got together, man.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it could have went south.
Yeah, it could have. It
10 years
definitely could
ago,
have.
10 years ago, if you imagined, maybe back in the '90s, if you imagine Isaiah, Michael, um, Patrick Ewing playing together, ain't no way. They're two
Oh
big
no.
heads, too many big heads.
Yeah, too
But
many.
then you got, I mean, I think the Splash Brothers already had that camaraderie coming in to Golden State. They got that. So that was a bonus. Clay done got a big head. Steph, well, he's the best point guard in the game. He still doesn't have his big head. So you got Kevin Durant. Well, I mean, he has his moments, but he's a good team player. He was that
Yeah.
way. He was that way in OKC. The question marks with Draymond Green and DeMarcus Cousins. DeMarcus Cousins, luckily, hasn't been playing much because he's been injured. But Draymond Green being able to gel the system and not having a quality bench, but having a bench coached so well where they can produce when their starters aren't out there. It's a testament to, first of all, Steve Kerr,
Right.
but it's a testament to him getting them to work together, these massive superstars, megastars coming together and playing like they have been the past several years. I mean, it's so much testament. I like that you brought that up.
When Luke
It,
Walton was heading up the Warriors and they like went on that like 24-1 stretch,
Yeah,
people were saying, "Oh, like anybody can coach this team." Like, no, it takes a certain coach to be
yeah.
able
yeah.
to manage this.
To
Yeah,
instill
Um,
a sense of teamwork and workmanship in that team, and Kerr's done that.
I'm
yeah.
glad you said that, Wellington, before we transition,
Hmm.
because you got a role player turn into a coach that's teaching everybody to be role players. Because I
Right?
don't think
Who did he play with?
they have that
You
yeah
know,
Michael
he
Jordan
played
is,
with Michael and Scotty.
but
He
I
knows
don't
how to play
think
with superstars.
the the Warriors didn't have that much success before they got to the top of the hill. Now with these young guys with the Celtics, with Tatum and Rozier, these guys were successful while they're starting guys. Now you in their younger guys who say don't understand about being a role player, about being a team player just yet because they all want to be I want to be a star. So
Right.
when
That's a
we
good
talk
point.
about the Warriors, they were older guys. They were already in the process of understanding, okay, we can't be selfish. This is how we win championships. Everybody plays together. And they had Iguodala, who was he's been three teams before he went to the Warriors was the 76ers,
Sixers.
Yeah, and a quality
Nets.
defender too, right there.
Yeah, great defender. Great defender. And he has a jump shot every now and again. He has to wake it up though. It takes a while. He has to wake
It's
it
a
up.
little ugly.
Iggy has to kind of get it in motion a little. Just takes a little.
Yeah,
Takes a little bit of time.
yeah,
Yeah,
it does. It does. It does.
but I like that you said that about the Celtics. I mean, they're a team that has so many players that need to find their identity in this league,
Right.
and they're forming that identity off of last year. Um, so I like that point, and something I didn't think of before. And they've got some veterans, but majorly their team has got these young guys that had a great year last year, and
Hmm.
that are trying to reach that expectation, putting added pressure on themselves because they still don't know who they are.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I like that, Savon. That was good.
So with but before we move to the West, with Milwaukee, would you guys say this is would you like them over Toronto if it ends up being Milwaukee Toronto in the Eastern Conference Finals?
Of
I'll
course,
let you take that. Okay. Well, I don't know.
Oh,
of course.
I can't. I don't
make
know.
sure.
I don't know just yet.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's a tough one.
to me, there's no contest.
Really,
Yeah,
Ooh, no, I wouldn't say that.
I
I
like
would
the
not
play.
say
I
Wouldn't
that.
say
like the
that.
play that the Raptors are playing, but Milwaukee is on such. I mean, look at the guys that are playing. Obviously, we've got Giannis playing well. We've got Chris Middleton, an All-Star, playing tremendous ball. We've got Bledsoe playing ball that I've known he could all year, and
Mhm.
he's shown sparks of that, and he's finally coming around. And then you've got the bench players such as Ersan Ilyasova. You got George Hill playing extremely well in this series. Even Pat Connaughton coming out from the bench, and now you got Malcolm Brogdon back. And these are guys that just all year people were waiting for them to fall. People were waiting for them to stumble. People were waiting for them. Okay, they shown this spurt, but now it's kind of fizzled out because they're inexperienced. They don't know what they're doing. The coach is okay. These guys, they're not used to this. So all year we've been waiting for them to kind of fall, But all year they've shown, okay, we are definitely the best team in the league, right? Especially record-wise, but in regards to working with each other and working around teams that have beat them, such as Game 1 the Celtics. Okay, how are we going to work around this? How are we going to improve? How are we going to get better? What mistakes did we made? And we'll fix it. And they showed us that the second game. And so uh, uh, I'm probably making a bold statement. I don't care. Uh,
Definitely a
uh,
bold statement.
I like what Toronto's doing. They've got great players. They've got a good coach. Um, I mean, they only lost two more games in the regular season, so it's gonna be an amazing series.
It is.
I fully expect it to go at least 6 games.
Wait,
But for me, but no, this is
you
what
said
I'm
this was
saying.
no contest. Then you
Right.
say
No,
Going
no,
6 games.
I'm talking about this. This is what I mean. I fully expect to go 6, but for me,
okay,
the outcome is always going to be the Bucks.
okay.
Like I don't see the Raptors winning the series. They're gonna take it to 6, but for me, it's no contest who wins the series eventually. That's what I mean.
I can't agree with that. Can't agree with
I
that.
can't go there.
One,
That's fine.
Rodman,
That's fine. I'm
Rodman
here
is
to
not
make bold
100%
statements, brother.
healthy. He's not
I'm
100%
here to
healthy.
make
He's in a
bold
limited
statements.
role. We don't know if he might re-injure that. We don't know what he will, if he could be
That's fine.
acclimated back to the game. That's one. Number two, they're not the best team in the NBA. That's false. That's a
This
big
season,
statement. This season, they're not the best team this season. Even with the record, they're not the best team. No, I cannot give that to them. I love how they play great basketball, and I love Giannis. I love Chris Middleton more than I love Giannis, but they're not the best team. Even with their record, they're not the best
I
team.
respect that.
But for thirdly, I think Kawhi handles. I think he looks at game one, what Al Horford
Gotta side
was
with the fun
able to
guy.
do it, was able to do. I think we all know Kawhi is he's faster, he's longer, he's longer than Al Horford, and he's quicker than Al Horford, and he's smarter than Al
Well,
Horford.
Al Horford's an old
He's
man. Come on now.
exactly that's what I'm saying. Kawhi will have a better chance manning up. Now Giannis will get some buckets, but I think they'll transition. And key point on Chris: if Chris doesn't hit, which he probably will, if he doesn't hit, they're in trouble. Because without Chris and Giannis, that's the offense right there. I know George Hill is playing great basketball, but for how long? How long? He always has a time where he did that last year with the Cleveland. How long? Eric Bledsoe will not man up anybody on Toronto. He won't
George,
man up anybody.
George Hill is a guy that feeds off of what his teammates give him.
It's going to be
And I
extremely
think this season,
difficult for
I
this.
was so happy for him as a former Spur to be traded to the Bucks and what he did, because this season he's been playing extremely well, role playing, just as what that's his role. That's his role right there, is just being a role player and feeding off of the guys around him. And his guys have been playing consistent all year, and I don't expect it to slow down even with the Raptors in the way.
I think the
Yeah.
Raptors is the best defensive team they'll face all year. And I
Kyle
say that
Lowry
Yeah,
because
needs
this
to
is a
have
defensive juggernaut. The
yeah,
Raptors have been that for
right.
most of
it's
the
going to
year.
be
Kyle Lowry needs to
Grade
have the
3 and D
series of
guys.
a series of a lifetime.
I
He needs
definitely
to.
agree with
He
that,
is the
Micah.
key to this.
I definitely agree with
Siakam's going
that.
to get his points in his
Definitely
defense.
agree with that.
Kawhi Leonard's going to do what he needs to do. But if Kyle Lowry does not have the series of a lifetime, they
They're not gonna
will
win.
lose. It
He
will
finally got some
happen.
points, guys.
That's an amazing accomplishment.
Oh,
I'm just happy he got some
wow.
points.
Me too.
Yeah, it's about time.
Oh,
I
God.
love Kyle Lowry, man. I've always loved Kyle Lowry, but
He's
he just
just not
he needs
existing in the postseason.
he's not a playoff boy.
He's not.
Yeah.
He's not.
Um,
It's terrible.
Transitioning to Denver and Portland. Denver's currently up 3-2, and they won Game 5 by 26. And the player who's kind of like always been the steady force, even though is not considered like one of the three most essential players, has been Paul Millsap, and
Yeah.
he's he had 12 points in the first quarter, finished the game with 24 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, and the front court presence for Denver has kind of been like the biggest advantage for them, because they outscored the Blazers I think 64-44, and then they have a 12-2 point advantage with turnovers, and Gary Harris's defense on Lillard has been extremely
Yes.
exceptional. He Micah, you can attest to it with the Spurs when Derek White was going off. Mike Malone, he puts Gary Harris on Derek White and contains him.
Yeah,
And so
shuts him
that,
down.
yeah, and that's been the key in this series as well. Lillard hasn't kind of had that breakout type of game. Um, so Micah, with this series and Denver up 3-2, what has kind of stood out to you the most in terms of Denver's size and also how you see this series going ahead forward?
Well, we talked before, I think it was before the playoffs, and about just a devastating injury with Yusuf Nurkic with
Yeah,
Portland, and
it's showing up now.
the huge question on Cantor of he's
Mhm.
obviously not going to be that way offensively, but terrible defense. That's just what
Yeah.
he's known for. But I will say, in this playoffs, in these playoff series, he has exceptionally played above and beyond his defensive prowess.
Right.
So that to me, in this series, that is the most surprising thing. Because if it weren't for the play that now, obviously we've seen Jokic just dominate and dominate, but for the limited defensive head that Cantor has, uh, this whole just this series and last series, he has played above and beyond, and that's surprising to me. Obviously, he's not going to get his points, and obviously he's that's the injury that he's had with the dislocated shoulder, but having the heart to play through that. Um, but I think the thing that has stuck out to me in the series has been you mentioned the play of Millsap and the play of Harris and
Yeah.
just how well they played. And I expected Jokic to do this, but to me, coming in the series, there are two question marks, one for each team. What is Portland going to do without Nurkic, and how is Denver going to do with their inexperience? Um, and we've seen
Every
Malone
time they've been pushed to the brink, like in Game 4 against San Antonio, Game 4 against Portland,
absolutely.
they answer the bell, and Jamal Murray has
If the
huge games.
Spurs had done what they were supposed to do, the Spurs would have won that series. They blew a 20 point lead.
Hmm.
Um, they blew another lead, another game. The both of those games they lost, and um, but it's a testament to Denver. It's a testament to Denver and what they've been able to do and pulling out wins and being clutch in the times that where they needed to be clutch. And the second most surprising thing, besides Cantor's defense being way better than I thought it would be, is how well they have stifled Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. Um, Obviously, the first game, the stars are going to play. The stars are going to get their buckets because now you got to see what we got to do. But I'm surprised at how well Gary Harris has played on Damian Lillard. I'm surprised that their defense has been able to uh, contain him to a point to where they don't have to exert as much effort on offense to keep answering Damian Lillard and keep answering CJ McCollum. And so, and even Rodney Hood, who's had a good series, but just the play of the starters, and even Will Barton and Malik Beasley off the bench. Um, I mean, Will Barton's has some clutch shots in this series. So just the all around play of Denver is something that I wasn't expecting coming in the playoffs, just because of the inexperience they've had. Um, Ultimately, I don't think it's gonna matter coming into the Western Conference Finals. I don't think they're gonna win, but I think they've impressed me
Hmm.
enough to where it could be interesting.
Yeah.
So
Um, and and Savon, Jokic, he's really had a phenomenal series. He played he played 65 minutes in the game. I believe the game three for overtime
yeah,
outing, and there's been just so much on him to kind of be the focal point of the offense, and
65 minutes.
yeah, 65 minutes, and he's been the focal point of the offense, and even when he hasn't, Jamal Murray has been able to step up.
Mm.
Torrey Craig stepped up in the last series. What for Denver has kind of like stood out to you the most in terms of how every time they've been kind of been pushed to the brink in the series, they've really shown a lot of resiliency.
I think it's two things. One, they have a bend don't break mentality. Like you said, when it's time to step up and get the job done with the Spurs, and now this is a couple of times where I thought Trailblazers had them on the ropes, and then they come back. And I think there's three things actually. The second thing is ball movement. They've been moving the ball so well. 26 assists last game. They've been shooting pretty good. And the third is they're more consistent now this series. That's what's the difference. Then we talked about the inconsistencies of Jokic and Jamal Murray. Jokic probably say, I don't know if you know this guy. They do this podcast called Full Scope. And he said we were inconsistent. So we gotta be consistent in the series. It's just like that.
I
He
don't think we
heard
have
our
that much clout,
podcast.
Savon. I don't think we have that much clout yet.
He heard our
Hey,
podcast.
don't sell yourself short, bro. Come
You'll
on
be
now.
pessimistic. You never know.
You never know.
You never know. But they're more consistent, especially Jokic. He's putting the team on his back, and you get old man River Paul Millsap comes out of nowhere, gives you a spark in the first half. I think he had his first 19 of his 24 points came in the first half. So it's kind of like you have all these commanding factors and variables coming in and play a great role to win you basketball games. But they have great ball movement. They're more consistent, and they have a bend don't break mentality. They show it when they need to.
Who?
Yeah.
And either one of you can go first, but in terms of Portland, because Seth Curry, he has the amazing like 16-point first quarter in Game 4, and then Stotts, he has to put Aminu on Jokic, and that doesn't go well, and it's pretty much been feast or famine with just kind of relying on McCollum and Lillard to kind of be the focal point of the offenses of the offense. Rodney Hood had a really good performance in Game 3. So, like, to you guys, who kind of has to step up for Portland to be able to kind of extend this series and possibly win it?
Rodney Hood. I mean, Rodney Hood's done more than I expected him to. But he's got to do even more when the starters are on the bench. Because when Lillard and McCollum are in the game, you got him and a super inconsistent Seth Curry. You got Evan Turner, who's not going to get his points. You got Zach Collins, who's iffy even then. So there's not a lot of people. Their bench isn't that deep. I mean, and that's unfortunate for them, especially with Nurkic injured. Which I'm surprised that they even have won 2 games in the series, just because with all the injuries they've had and the shallowness on the bench. I believe scoring wise, it's got to be Hood, but they've got to get boards. I mean, they had 20 less boards the last game. 20 less, and I understand that Jokic is a force to be reckoned with, but Cancer with a dislocated shoulder had 10 boards in Game 4. So and nobody else had more than 8, and so you got to be able to get on the glass because the glass gets you points and the glass gets you the ball. Obviously Denver's going to make their shots, and Portland's going to make their shots, but if you're not getting the boards, you don't have the ball, and it's a fundamental thing. But boards, I mean, to me, you need to do better on the boards. When you're playing 35 minutes, you got to be able to get up there. You got to be able to get 10 boards. That's what they need from you. If you're not scoring points, you got to be able to get boards, and so those are the 2 areas where I think you got to have Rodney score and you got to have Minu get rebounds. But if you're not having either or just one, you're at a severe disadvantage based on the scoring ability of Denver and the rebounding ability of Denver.
Yeah. And that's been the biggest thing to me, Savon, is Denver's size has just been kind of too much for Portland.
My goodness, man.
For most of the series, like it's just kind of been the overwhelming factor. Before we move on, anything or any player that you kind of see that needs to step up for Portland?
I think it has to be the 2 guys that head this team. I need a better. What was this on fire guy? The game series before this one, and Damian Lillard, C.J. McCollum hasn't been as good as I thought he would be. His shooting percentage has went down the series from the first series. I just want those guys to go.
He had 12 points last.
Should Micah?
12 exactly.
Do you guys think they should just go small and just try to kind of outscore them? With kind of like a smaller lineup and more shooters.
I mean, if it goes.
I would like that better because we all know Cantor is not a defensive player. That's why the Knicks got rid of him. That's not his forte. He'll give you some buckets, but his defense is not the forte. I'd rather you go small, give them shoot 27 consecutive. Get you some Houston Rockets buckets, man.
Listen,
get you some Rockets buckets. Shoot it.
If they go small, Millsap and Jokic are going to have a field day inside.
Yeah.
True,
And
but
if they go small, but what we've
But you're
seen with
also
Denver's,
relying on one of the best backcourts in the league
yeah, but
for them
what
to have
you've
a really
seen
great shooting night.
with this overachieving Denver defense is something that surprised me. I didn't expect anybody to be able to contain at any rate Damian Lillard
Right.
from this team. And CJ Collin maybe, but Damian Lillard, I mean, he'll obviously he'll get his buckets, but they just don't have a bench. They've got
they
Rodney
don't.
Hood who can't go off. They've got Seth Curry who's an inconsistent player. Maybe Myers Leonard, but he didn't even play last game. So I mean, there's not a lot of areas you can go to, even if you go small ball. Because if you go small ball, the rebounds is going to be astronomically in Denver's favor, and the
Yep.
big guys are just going to have a field day. Jokic being the man among boys in there, and so
It's worth a shot. They have to do
I
something. I
yeah,
mean, they're not
sure,
down
go
by
for it.
much.
I mean,
I
they've
mean, they're
had
not
close
down by
games
much.
in this series except the last game.
Yeah,
Every
last
other
game
game
was
was
the
super
game.
close, and I'm impressed by the play of Denver, and
Yeah. I'm just
um
really impressed with Denver. I
yeah,
wasn't I wasn't like Savon, I wasn't really high on the Nuggets.
Yeah,
But this is a very resilient team and they have a bright future.
yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
hopefully.
You still don't buy it?
I mean,
Why
we
why are you
always
being negative, man?
see these things on paper. We see them on paper, and then last year we see the same thing from last year,
I mean,
Don't let the
I mean,
and the year
Celtics
before, and the year
catastrophe
before.
I,
influence
I will
cloud
I
your
will
thinking.
I will go off of this because obviously coming into the season Jamal Murray was expected to have a good season. He did, but who knows if
Mhm.
he's going to be able to keep that up? Who knows if Will Barton's going to be able to keep his play? Who knows if Gary Harris is going to keep up his play? So there are some unknowns, and I think looking to that Celtics team, you have to ask these questions because it
Sure.
happened to them. You had guys like Terry Rozier had a breakout postseason. You have Marcus Morris who was playing well. You have Marcus Smart and especially Jason Tatum. You're expecting all these guys to do great things based on the last year because they were expected to finally hit a ceiling and become somewhat relevant, but then they drop. And so to me, it's logical to wonder, will this happen with the guys who've had breakout years with the Nuggets? And it's a reasonable thing. I don't think it's shocking to think these things based on what has happened with the Celtics. So it's definitely a question. Can they do this? Can they continue their heightened play?
Yeah.
I think they
That,
can, but we'll see.
so 6 or 7, do you see it? You see Denver wrapping it up tonight?
Yeah, I I I I, I am. I'm
Savon,
surprised
would
that
you
they've
agree?
been able to go this far, but I think it's going to be over tonight.
No, I think Damian Lillard comes out and show why he's top five best point guard in the league right now. Hopefully,
I would
I'm
love that.
hoping.
I would love
I'm
that,
hoping.
but I don't think it's going to
Yeah.
happen. I would love it. I
Yeah.
love Dame. I love his loyalty to the city. I love the way he plays as well. But I don't know, man. The end is nigh for Portland's playoff, 2019 playoffs.
Yeah. And a game 7 in Denver just doesn't seem likely
Yeah, it
for Portland.
doesn't spell
Because
positively
this
for
is
us.
one of the best home court teams in the league.
Absolutely, yeah. And up
Transitioning
to
to yeah, go ahead.
well, I was saying, and up to the final couple of weeks, they were the top team in the West.
Right. Yeah.
So
Just imagine.
that's got to be in mind.
I mean, I don't think it would make a difference in the Western Conference Finals, but
Right, of course.
um, transitioning to Houston Golden State. Obviously the big news was Durant going out, and it's reported now that he has I believe a strained right calf, and he's going to be reevaluated next week and is not making the trip to Houston for Game 6. And Harden, he has 31 points,
Mm.
and doesn't I believe he doesn't take another like field goal attempt like the last 7 minutes. And
Yeah.
Chris Paul goes 3 for 14 from the field, 0 6 from three. Eric Gordon 5 for 14, and they're not able to close the deal. And
Mm.
With the Warriors missing KD and Steph, he has a much better a much better outing. He's more aggressive, having to be the initiator of the offense, and there's this interesting interesting stat with Curry's productivity with Durant in the playoffs and with him and with
Yeah.
KD, he has 25 points on 17.5 shots per 75 possessions, but without him, it's 30.7 points on 24 shots per 75 possessions. So Micah, what are your thoughts on kind of the Warriors without KD in this series, and also kind of what do you see happening if it's something even more significant in the Rockets? This is really set up for them to kind of take advantage of it
Right.
if this is like their best chance, pretty much.
Well, obviously, when a high goal scorer is off the court, you're gonna score more points, and that's just what that stat is. It's just Curry has the ball more because Durant's off, and I don't think it's necessarily a positive thing for the team because you still got Durant off the floor. I mean,
Yeah,
would you
never good.
rather have Curry scoring 23 and Durant scoring 25, or Curry scoring 30 and Durant scoring 0? Like, I'd rather have those two on the floor, and uh, to me, Durant's the best player in the league. Just what he's been able to do in his time at Golden State. Uh, uh, they even at the end of the game, I mean, they still had a chance to pull it out. They had a decent, they had a scramble for the ball down by 3,
Yeah,
and
and Clay
they
was
just couldn't
out of
get it.
bounds.
Yeah, they, they just couldn't get it, and they almost did. So I mean, I I think they're going to win Game 6. I just think home court and what James Harden's going to be able to do. I don't think Chris Paul will be in slump. I think they need to give Capella a little bit more, um, especially with. I mean, obviously, uh, Danny or not Danny Green. Draymond Green is going to be a formidable defender, but as they got Cousins out, give Capella the ball a little bit more. I mean, obviously, you're going to want your boys to shoot. But you got to be able to work in and out. If Capella's working inside and he's getting buckets, it's just logical the defense is going to crash a little bit more. Take a little bit off the outside, then kick it back out. I mean, it's simple basketball, you know. But coming into the series, I mean, to me, I thought Houston had a great chance to win the series. I mean,
Yeah,
they've got the team to do it. They're the one team in the West that can. We said
maybe the
last
one team
year.
in the league that can.
I think Milwaukee could. I don't think they will, but I
Hmm.
think they could. But it, just even coming into this year, as I told you the last time I was on the podcast. I mean, to me, Harden is deserving of the MVP this year, but so is Giannis. But the way that Harden has been able to carry the team, and now he's got his pieces that are playing well, and now
Right.
he's got his pieces that are healthy. And this is the time. Take advantage of the injury of Kevin Durant. Take advantage of it. If they don't take advantage, if they don't win Game 6, and they eventually lose Game 7, or if they win Game 6 and just have a terrible outing Game 7, I mean that's on them. But if they don't win Game 6, there's a whole lot of questions like why you should win this game. They're a 7-point favorite.
Yeah.
Um, so again, I think it's going to go 7. I think they'll win. But
Do you think the Rockets will win?
no, I don't know about the series, but I think Game 6.
Yeah, at least
Uh,
okay, yeah.
it's a toss up, and,
It
and
really
that's
is.
that's what's exciting about it. That's what I love about it.
Yeah.
It quite literally is a toss up, even with Golden State up 3-2. You don't know what's going to happen, and unfortunately, we've been waiting for this for 3 years. Of It's not expected who's going to win, because they have to run into the Rockets. The other years are like, all right, it's going to be Golden State. Golden State's going to win. And it still might
There's
happen this
not
year, but
that just like
there's
inevitability this year.
there's not this 100%. Yeah, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And Durant's injury, we'll see what. There hasn't been a lot of updates besides it being what it is.
Hmm.
Um, so we'll see how that pans out, and that's an exciting wrench. It's unfortunate for him, but it's an exciting wrench for the series. Um, but what Houston needs to do is they need to grab onto this and let it propel them. They got to.
Yeah, and Savon, with Golden State, I mean, there was always the mantra strength in numbers. Uh, that's no longer the case because with they have extremely thin bench. Sean Livingston, just shooting 34% from the field.
Mhm.
Kevon Looney, he's been great on the glass, but limited offensively. Alfonso McKinney, I believe like only 3 of 14 from deep in the playoffs, and Jerebko, he's been a really good floor spacer, but only 3 for 11, and so this is kind of it's one of the things where Golden State is still the most top heavy team and still going to have the talent edge in any series. Obviously, things are going to be different without Durant, and the bench is going to have to provide a little more. What are your thoughts on kind of how the Warriors are going to have to adjust to this, and how you kind of see the series playing out?
A Sunday without a cherry is still a Sunday. We, I,
Sure,
I think we forgot how great
I like
this
that
team
analogy.
was before KD. Now without KD, they're still a good team. KD just brings that extra umph to him. Did we forget about the Splash Brothers? Did we forget
Uh,
about the great
when
ball
you're done,
handler in the
I want to preface.
transitional?
I want to when you're done, I want to give my spiel on this because I think you assume something, but I guess I just didn't explain it well. So go ahead.
No, this is in general. I'm not basing this off what you said previous in the statement of who wins the series or not, but I'm just saying without KD, they're still a great basketball team. They're even better without KD on the court. And I think now that Wellington said it, now Steph can be more assertive and aggressive, and then you get Clay to be wide open because everybody's going to be focused on Steph now, and that just
Yeah,
moves the
all the
ball
attention
movement,
draws to him.
draws to him. That's why Steph is such a great basketball player because his shooting ability makes everything around him better. Now, if Clay comes out in Game 6 and shit goes off like he did the first quarter, then they have a chance. But the only thing that happened this game, they didn't have a great third quarter. Houston stole the third quarter from them. 29. I think Houston had 29 points and they had 15. So they're still a great team. They're still a great basketball team. They still have all the pieces left. They even have other pieces that they can move in on the bench. They still have the same bench. They have the same starting five with Draymond Green and Clay and all these guys together, Iguodala. They still have a good team. Now, is it going
Yeah,
to be the matchup is going to be evenly matched now? Of course, yes. But I still think they can pull it off because now, as you can see, when James Harden didn't make any attempts and those guys are not making any shots, I just think of 27 consecutive 3-point shots missed. That's the end. They don't have an identity outside of James Harden. They don't have an identity outside of the 3-point making. They won those basketball games because they were hitting their 3-point shots. When they don't do that, they lose because they don't have anything else to rely on. There's still, like I said, I'm patting this. A Sunday is still a Sunday with or without a cherry.
yeah,
Uh, yeah,
that's the mantra. Uh,
mantra, baby.
that's the mantra for that.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
but yeah, go ahead.
I want to, I wasn't trying to imply that they were not a great team without Durant, but it's just uh, th- for me, if Durant wasn't on the team, would I still expect them to win the series? Sure.
Hmm.
Would I still should they have won the last two finals? Sure.
I
Uh,
don't think there's a lot of confidence even without Durant to say that Houston can win the series because I feel like they really let go of that they really lost a big opportunity to capitalize with Game 5.
oh, absolutely. Um, I mean, they were ahead for a little while, and even when Durant came out, I mean, you you gotta capitalize on a flustered team. Now, obviously, um, it's an experienced Golden State team. They've been in these positions before. They know what they're doing. But anytime that somebody gets injured, it's obviously a circumstance. Okay, let's catch our bearings for a minute. Whether it takes um, 2 minutes or 1 second, there's going to be a little bit of time where okay, this is your time to take advantage of this, and they
Yeah.
didn't do that. And it's unfortunate for them. I know they're shooting themselves in the foot for that because they should be up 3-2 right now going at home. Uh,
Yeah,
but
I mean
it's
the
again,
series would likely be over Friday night if they were up 3-2.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But again, it's a testament to the greatness of Steph Curry, and with Clay coming out as a game high 27 points. I mean, you've got the guys who have been there for a while who know what they need to do, and this is just a team that they have. If one of your superstars go out, don't worry, you got three other all stars without DeMarcus Cousins. You know,
Yeah.
it's a team that I mean, you could lose one guy, but yet the rest of your starters are still better than the vast majority of teams in the league, and that's a luxury that they have now. It seems this seasons that they've taken it for granted. Even sometimes in the playoffs, some of the games that they've lost, they've taken a little bit for granted. But um, last night they showed like, hey, listen, we're still we're still the super team. Like we're still the two-time defending champs. We're still going for that three-peat. We're still the team that can and probably will win it. And so with Durant out, it's definitely an obstacle that they've got to overcome. But they're the one team that can. Now, if Giannis went out or Dame or Jokic went out, these teams would fall instantly. But you got teams like, okay, we could still win series. It doesn't matter. This is just a bump, but we'll still win the game. It's a testament again to Steve Kerr and the way that they've been able to play ball.
Yeah. I would definitely agree with that assessment. The Rockets, they were still able to, um, score well down the stretch. Having 27 points on 9 for 16 shooting in the fourth, and led late in the third quarter. But before we wrap this up, what do you guys think about the kind of the end of the series? Do you see Golden State in seven, or maybe Golden State wrapping it up in Houston? What do you guys see kind of as the end result?
Go ahead, Javon.
Golden State in seven with or without KD. I just don't
Okay.
think the shooting habits. They were hot for what 2 games, and now they're kind of fell off a little bit in decline because once again they don't have anything outside of 3-point shooting. So I definitely say Golden State goes to the Western Conference Finals and they meet they meet the Denver Nuggets. Gosh, and that's gonna be a crazy series too. Every season they've been in, they had to fight for, especially in the series before this.
Yeah. So,
Um,
Michael, would you say seven?
if they can hit threes, Houston in seven. If they can't, Golden State in seven. It's as simple as that.
I agree with
Well, hopefully not 29 consecutive.
that. Oh gosh, that's a terrible number.
Warriors got something. Also, they gotta do it for the Golden State fans. I mean, you gotta do it for
Oracle.
Oakland.
Yeah.
They've got to do it for them. They do. What a disappointing way to end your time in Oracle. You know what I
I
mean?
lost in the second
And
round.
that's definitely going to be on their mind. It has to be. It'd be on mine. Like this, we've been here for years and years, and we've won the last year. But the last year, we can't give something to them. We can't even give them a Western Conference championship if we lose this series.
Mhm.
It'll be disappointing, and it's a disservice to the fans that have stuck with them for so long and have been with them through this ride. So
Well, Micah, it was a pleasure as always having you on. Thank you for being back on, giving great playoff insight as always.
I appreciate it, man. I love coming on this show. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, that wraps it up for tonight. I'm your host, Wellington Burns, along with my counterpart, Savon Morris. This has been Full Scope. See you later.